So as promised in the last video, we are going to check which AI is best for coding purposes. So before I build different AI models, we are going to do the test on ChatGPT, Gemini, Meta, and Grok because these are one of the most used AI models till now. And before starting, let me clarify that we are going to perform the test on the basic available models, which is usually free, not on the models like GPT-4 or Gemini 3, as 99% of us use free version for our daily tasks. And also, I have divided the question into different groups. So our first question would be on the basic logic, and then after that, we will add layers of difficulty on it. And yes, to ensure fairness, I have also created a entirely new Gmail account and signed up into these AI models from that account. Now, enough of crap. Let's move on to the testing. So we are starting off with a very basic question. Write me a C++ code to check if a number is even or odd. Copy paste to the other AI models. Look at the response. The responses are the quite same. ChatGPT and Grok had the same answer. Gemini, on the other hand, made a separate function and called it in the main function. And Meta also had a similar code. But I think the code written by the Gemini is more appropriate as it has made a separate function and called it in the main, which is, I think, a more appropriate method if you go at a professional level. But if you are a beginner, so I think ChatGPT and Grok ones and even Meta ones also work. So I think Gemini gets the point here. Now moving over to second question, it will be a bit difficult. I mean, like not that much difficult, but just a layer of difficulty to it. First, non-repeating character in a string. We are here with the response, and the response of all the AI models kind of same because in the first part they are finding the count of each character, and then in the next part they are finding which character has a count of one. So yeah, it's pretty same for all the AI models. Let's move on to the next question. Write me a code such that when intervals overlap, they merge. Let me copy and paste it to the other AI models and see what does it generate. Here are the answers from all the AI models. You can see the answers on the screen. And after analyzing all of the code, I think the one provided by the Grok is the best one because it uses custom interval struct, which is I think more cleaner and more type safe than raw, pair, or vector. And it also uses a explicit comparator for sorting and also avoid using bits and stc plus dot h. After Grok, I would rank ChatGPT one as second because I think it is very clean, readable, use standard C++ headers, and it's kind of beginner friendly. And then at third place, I rank the Gemini one because I think it's shortest, fastest to write, and functional logic is also good. And the one provided by the Meta is the worst because I think using vector is the messiest representation, and it uses bits slash stdc plus plus dot h, which is a bad practice until unless you are in a competitive programming computation. So overall, all the AI models are doing good. And let's move on to the next question and just tell who is the daddy here. Write me a code for the transpose of matrix and hit the generate button. So here's the code by all the AI models. You can again see them on the screen, and I've analyzed it. I think the Gemini one is the best one because it uses a separate function, which is a professional and clean practice. It also uses const reference for input, so there would be no unnecessary copying. And also, I think it also handles the empty matrix case. After Gemini, I think the Grok one is the best because I think it is the best complete runnable program, you can say, because it uses vector, which is much better than using a fixed array, and also it's safe for large matrices. At number 3, I'll put ChatGPT one instead of Meta because it is just simple, correct, old school C++ representation, very simple to the point, beginner friendly code. And I think the logic is also correct, but it is not using vector, which is I think kind of a beginner thing. The last one is the Meta one because it again used the same library and it doesn't also check the empty matrix case. I think Gemini is number 1, Grok is number 2, ChatGPT is number 3, and then Meta is number 4 for this question. We move on to the next question. For this question, I'm telling this AI models to generate me a stack using 2 queues. Again, here are the responses. You can see them, and I've also again analyzed them. And I think here the Meta one is the because it uses template and it can work for any data type, and it also uses exception, and there's no logic in the main. And I think I'll rank the Gemini code also equal to it because it also uses a clear design, also uses exception. But I think the reason I would put it to the second because it used int instead of template. And at number 3 is a ChatGPT one because I again think it's a very clean, simple, runnable, student-friendly logic. And at number 4 comes a Grok one, which is the worst one because it also uses cout and magic return values, and there is no exception handling and no size functions. So I think that's what's the last. So for our next question, I'm going to tell these AI models to implement an LR. You can share copy paste into the other AI models and let it generate. So again, here are the responses, and after analyzing, I think the Meta one is the best one here because it uses a template based approach, also uses STL, and also uses exception, and there is no unnecessary input, output, or demo code. So I think Meta is the number one, and at number two, I think is the Gemini. It also uses list, unordered map correctly, and also uses splice method. But again, not number one because it uses instead of template based approach, and also uses -1 instead of exception. And at number three is the ChatGPT one. You can see it is kind of a classic textbook approach. And again, at number four, we have the Grok. I think it is a less clean version of the Meta one. And now moving over to our last final boss question, which is going to shake these AI models and make them realize whom they have messed with. So final question is, make me a Floppy Bird game in HTML. All the AI models have generated the response, but for some reasons Grok just crashed. So I asked him very respectfully to generate me a response, and here is the response, which again was incomplete and also in C++. So I just asked him very nicely. It generated me an HTML code for Floppy Bird game, and here's the game from different AI models. Now I'm leaving this game up to you guys to judge and tell which one do you like the most. If you ask me personally, I think the ChatGPT one ranks at number one because it is just like more fluid. As you can see with Gemini and Grok, they are just too fast, and the bird just crashed before even starting the game. And at last, I will put the Meta one. So again, I'm leaving up to you guys. Yeah, the book is complete. You guys can judge and let it know in the comment section. Till the next video, take care. Bye bye.